everybody. Welcome back. I'm Jeff Wasserstrom, and this is the second day of Empire Resurgent. We began yesterday, as many of you know, with an extraordinary keynote address by Leah Uppy and a wonderful response panel to that. And today we're going to have a series of somewhat more focused thematic sessions, many of which will, as one kind of sub-theme to this event, deal with places that get caught between different empires and different imperial projects. So of course, the keynote address was about one such place as well. And we have in the headlines today news about one such place, Alaska, that's been caught between different imperial projects, suddenly being in there again. I won't say anything really. I'll get my time when I introduce a China, Russia, America project. But one of the things that was quite stimulating in yesterday's session at the end, Samuel Moyne suggested that we try to come up with a definition of empire, a kind of working definition, so that empire didn't just mean everything; it had to mean something. And I think that's something we'll be returning back to. But personally, I was thinking about a way that when coming out of China, focus on China as I do, not thinking about the term empire, but rather thinking about the term imperialism, which is closely related to it. But Chinese official rhetoric of the Chinese Communist Party is all about they came to power as resistance to imperialism. And yet there are discussions of the contemporary People's Republic of China having a form of imperialism. And the place I've cared about most lately has been Hong Kong, which clearly was affected by one form of imperialism coming from Europe, and now is widely seen as being affected by a kind of imperialism coming from Beijing, widely seen and definitely seen by me. And it's interesting because one of the people giving a brief welcome will be Tom Lutz, founding editor of the LA Review of Books, and the first time we ever did an event together was in Hong Kong, at a time between its colonizations, when we talked about all kinds of things that we simply could not do that kind of event now. So it's a very real, tangible thing, even to people who aren't subjects of empires, of how you could be affected by these kinds of ways. But first, I want to introduce our first speaker right back, which is a great pleasure. Austen Parrish is the new dean of the law school, and the forum has always been a joint project of the School of Humanities and the School of Law. And this is the first time we've met, but what a perfect occasion for it.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks so much. I have to say, I don't know what's worse than having to hear a dean at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, so my apologies.
9 a.m. on a Monday morning.
On a Monday morning, well. I'm not going to go there. Look, I'm going to keep this very brief. I just wanted to, well, first, thank you, Jeff and Amy, putting on such a fabulous conference. I can't imagine actually something that's more timely. My own research works on sort of transnational law and the projection of domestic law in sort of imperialistic and empire building. And so this is a particular interest. But when you look at the speakers and the topics, this really is just absolutely phenomenal. And the law school is just really grateful to have this long, deep partnership. I thought I'd say one thing that I'm particularly struck with. I've just recently arrived at UC Irvine, and many schools that I've been at universities talk about interdisciplinarity and the idea that you could advance knowledge better if you really sort of cross disciplines and engage in a deep way. And so much of that time, it's just well, it's window dressing. It doesn't really happen. And it's great to see here at UC Irvine this sort of partnership that for such a long time has deeply involved humanities in the law school in a really meaningful way, in conversations that are important and that aren't just window dressing. And so many thanks to Jeff and Amy for your vision on this and for being a long partner on this. And very nice to meet everybody. It just looks like it's going to be an amazing day, and I'm very grateful to be here. Welcome to the second day of the conference. Thanks.
Thank you.
Best of luck on Monday.
Okay. Tom Lutz and veteran traveler, author of travel books and many other things. But here you go, take it away, Tom.
So I was given the job of summing up what happened yesterday, which I think I'm kind of gonna do. Can we switch this so that it's on? I found yesterday's session so endlessly interesting and provocative and wonderful. And obviously there's a keynote, but also the 4 responses from Adam and Priya, Hamon and Samuel, all from such different angles, all adding so much interesting context and light on Leah's presentation. And then Leah's response to them, and the various comments from the audience by Amara and Felix and others. And I don't remember the last time I had such a stimulating evening of such a stimulating intellectual feast. Of course, I don't remember really what happened in the before times. I think maybe like a lot of you, this is one of the first conferences I've been to live since the pandemic. And I'm going to refer now to my pandemic TV watching. I think this is interdisciplinary in a way. Because one of the shows that I watched there, it's a Senegalese cop show. Sako Mangani, and it's mostly Senegalese. The actor playing Sako, who's on the left there, is actually Burkinabe, and Mangani is Cameroonian, and the showrunner is Congolese. So very international, but it occurred to me that no other genre is so ideologically tied to the everyday power of the state as the police procedural. And I had trouble understanding this show when I watched it, and I figured it out yesterday, which is why I'm sharing this with you. In many ways, generically typical, and in some important ways not. It features an older cop who does things by the book, and the young renegade, super cosmopolitan guy who snorts coke and bleaches his hair and wears chains and otherwise plays not by the book at all. But Sako, the older guy, is a cosmopolitan fellow as well. When he's passed over for the job of chief of police, he says it's okay with him because it is time for a woman to be offered the job. When that new police chief comes in, she puts her 3 framed diplomas on the wall of her office because, yes, universities are part of the redress of historical inequity, and they are also part of the legitimation mechanisms of the state. The plot revolves around a sacred object that's stolen from an island fishing village off the coast of Dakar. It's stolen, we come to learn, by a European antiques dealer, kind of rebooting, resurgent empire again. The fishing village is an entirely different world from Dakar, and the authority there is a priestess who, in the final episodes, is the key to solving the crime, setting the sophisticates straight about what's important in life, and returning the object to its rightful place. In the last scene of the series finale, the police chief, overwhelmed by everything that's happened, pulls her diplomas off the wall and smashes them against her desk and throws them in the trash. I was surprised by this ending, and I hadn't been sure what to think about it until yesterday. Because I think that what it's about is the ultimate legitimacy, not of the state or the empire or its agents, not of the neo-imperialist interloping thief, not of the cosmopolitan metropolitan culture, but the very dignified authority of this woman who exercises care for the people of her island, people who are not completely isolated from the world of capital and material flows, but from the world of empire, but they, for instance, they sell fish, they have engines in their boats, but whose daily life and daily motivations are tied to a communal life and communal understandings in their small place, which is one of the things that many people referred to in various ways yesterday. While the object is missing, nobody fishes. It's the priestess who not only maintains her own dignity, but helps maintain the dignity of the entire community by helping them believe in things worth believing in. This is why the police chief, brought face to face with an alternative to state power, smashes our diplomas in despair. They're now seen as a failed attempt to finding dignity within the system. But in this imagined world, the power of the imagination as a counter, outside the world, that dignity can only exist outside the system, outside the world the state makes. So obviously this is related to what Leah was talking about, that people find dignity in freely choosing their beliefs, and what Priya was talking about when she talked about the freedom lying in mutual care, and Helen in the questioning of who controls what. The state have the police, but the priestess has dignity. The other main aspect of the session yesterday had to do with surveillance, and for that I'd like to show a few quick images from my travels in China, which were all taken about 10 years ago, but I just published them recently in a collection, except for this one. And yes, the cap, right? The syntax of it really floored me. This is in Tibet, outside the Jokang Temple, and which has army patrols like the one you see in the upper left of the picture, going counterclockwise as the pilgrims circle this holiest of holy temples clockwise. The book of my photographs was printed in Hong Kong because Hong Kong has the greatest Heidelberg presses. It's been an art book printing center for many, many years. And what that meant in my case was that the government censors took a look at my book. And even though it's not being published in China, it's just being printed there, they objected to my statement that many people in Tibet felt they were in an occupied country. And they also objected to the picture itself. And they suggested this, which they photoshopped themselves. Wow. And sent me as an alternative. And so this is kind of a very overt surveillance, right? The snipers, the soldiers are going around the square. There are snipers on the roofs, which I mentioned in one of my captions, and the censor said, no, there are no snipers on the roofs. And so you need to take that out because it's not true. And this young woman's response was to object to all of that fake shit. Right? So I wasn't going to publish this one, they weren't going to publish this one, and so I left it out of the book altogether. In my section on Xinjiang, the censor wouldn't accept even my toned down description of what was going on there. So it's the only section of the book that has no captions whatsoever. It's an amazing community. These are all from Kashgar. Caring for itself under great duress. The day I left Urumqi, somewhere between 250 and 500 people were gunned down in the streets by security forces. And this couple, it seems to me, in Kashgar, she with the Ralph Lauren logo on her shirt, like the Tibetan girl's trucker's cap, as modern as can be, as keyed to the global system of capital and material flows as can be. These two people, it seems to me, represent exactly the kind of dignity in the face of the resurgence of empire that we were talking about yesterday. And so I thank you, Leah. I thank all of the commenters yesterday for helping me to understand what I was watching on TV and what I was seeing in my own pictures.